Question is, will they kill untold millions as they did in the last century? It is not the elite cockroaches that determine that. It is you. Hello, my friends. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be live here for the next hour. And we have Jason Bermas in studio with us. Jason Bermas is visiting from upstate New York. And we are also going to be taking your phone calls. And I see that there are quite a few of those phone calls lined up, so that is going to be happening as well. We had some scrambling about here as I noticed the document cam was in front of Bermas' face. Bermas, how you liking Austin?
It's great here, Alex. I mean, studio's top-notch, the show's top-notch. I love the fourth hour, the document cam. I mean, everything's expanding. It's really exciting stuff.
Well, we're going to make it a little bit more fancy in here. We're probably actually going to get a new office soon. And I'm going to even have a set up, and people do it at a desk. And I'm going to do the show in a chicken outfit.
Well, is that how we're going to do it now in chicken outfits? That's excellent.
Hey, did you see that funny video this morning?
Yes, the, what is it, Alex Jones warning or something like that? What's it called?
Alex Jones special announcement.
That's what it is.
And I sent it to Kurt Nimmo to post. He didn't post it.
Oh, he hasn't posted it yet? Well, if you just do a Google search on it, I found it pretty quick, and it's the Dancing Jones and the Thug Life Jones, apparently.
You see, I'm proving I can have some fun. And I wish I could have fun, and I better have some fun. Here it is, actually. Oh, picture of me, ladies and gentlemen. It's not really me. It's a Photoshop, but it's funny. Anyways, look on the belly. It says Thug Life.
I know. You can't see it, but you got a cigarette in your hand, and you have like a red gang bandana on backwards, too, when they zoom out. It's pretty amazing, folks.
Yeah, there's a big debate about whether it's real or not.
What's the debate? I didn't know you were all tatted up, Alex.
Yeah, that's actually Jack Blood.
Oh, jeez.
Just joking, man. We're just having some fun today. All right, let's get serious. We got all this martial law news. Everything's going to hell in a handbasket. My neck just suddenly went into total pain about an hour ago. But I think the Advil's starting to take effect. I feel a little bit better now. I want to go through a bunch of calls because they've been holding.
Sure.
And then I want to get into a bunch of this news with you, Bermas. And also, I don't want to give out too many details, but you're down here for the next month or two working on a new top-secret film with us. And I wanted to begin a bit of the hype with that because it's, like John Wayne said, no brag, just fact, quite a film. And I've got another 9/11 film we're nearing completion on. So a lot of exciting stuff that is going on. But first off, show folks one more shot of myself. First off, covering the news here of the phone calls, I wonder who is first here. Would it be Julie? I guess Julie was unable to get in. I see like 15 phone calls. Alex was one of the people. Josh was one of the people who held over from the last show, the last hour. I want to make sure we go to them. So let's go ahead and go to... Is Casey one of the old callers? Okay, Casey in Oklahoma. Then we'll go to Josh and others that are patiently holding.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. And
you like hearing Bermas breathe like Darth Vader into the microphone?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Hey, I wanted to talk to. It wasn't in relation to Bermas being there, but actually, it has to do with two things. One, have you ever seen that show Jack Van Impe on?
Jack Van Impe and Rexella Van Impe.
Yeah,
Revelation.
Well, anyways, I've been watching that show for a few years now, and I'm a Christian, and I was watching that show long before I'd heard about your show. And normally, they're pretty straightforward, and they're not, they actually expose some of the globalist agenda and mention Illuminati and stuff like that. They've had several DVDs that were pretty interesting. But the most recent show I heard a few days ago, I actually, for the first time ever, Jack Van Impe came out and talked about Romans 13, and how essentially the government, basically what you've talked before, and had some of those that TV clip on before about submitting to the government. And, and talking about, the rapture will be out of here. And it's like, wait a second, this is completely different than what, it sounds I've heard before. And I was just awestruck by that. And it just fits right into what you're talking about, this agenda that they're working on the preacher.
Well, see, now you've gotten us into serious issues, so I'll quit screwing around like I was right there at the first.
Okay.
No, it's horrible. I mean, when they recruit 26,000 preachers, admitted, we gave people the secret documents. They didn't believe it. Now it's in the news. They're training them to tell us to turn our guns in, go to camps. And then once the staged attacks happen, they're federalizing police, doing DNA swabbing without warrants, keeping them of citizens at checkpoints, taking blood. I mean, we're entering but the borders are wide open. They've built a system. Okay. They're swarming the people right now. The government is criminal. And, Jack Van Impe, 15 years ago was pretty good. But I've seen him a few times the last year or two, and it's gotten kind of New World Order. And they tell the big preachers, you're not going to be on TV unless you say worship the government. And now they've recruited 26,000 of them, about to double that. And so you're saying now you've seen Jack Van Impe do the same thing I was reporting earlier. Did you hear me playing those preachers saying being the government's slave is good and we're supposed to be slaves?
Yeah, that was awful. I mean, that was very eye-opening. I mean, it was eye-opening enough to hear that news report that you've had on for a while now on occasion. But yeah, that clip, those clips. But
I mean, do you know who they're hiring to be the cops and military now? Literally this guy. And the video you see on your screen, that type of person is being hired, and we can laugh about it, but we're in big trouble here.
Right. No, I know. I mean, and I wanted to let you know that. And also, I mean, I don't want to expose my identity here, and I've called before, but I'm actually a scientist in the government. And, I'm actually kind of on the fence as to whether or not I want to stay in the government. But at the same time, it's like, I guess I could be clandestine for the Patriot movement, and be in the government at the same time. Well,
there's not even a clandestine. I mean, there's good people everywhere. Yeah. And the government's been so criminal, they have to go ahead and go to the next level of corruption, or they're going to blow their whole system. You see, I mean, that's why a bank robber goes ahead and takes a hostage when he's about to get busted, is that he's panicking. So that decision's up to you, Bermas.
Well, going back to the first part where he was talking about, preachers selling out people and telling them to submit to the government, I'd just like to point out that on the other side of that spectrum, there seems to be some more mainstream media warning us against that. Those two MTV ads where they said the Holocaust happened to people like us, where they're literally going into U.S. homes, taking families out, and then putting them on a train, and then all of a sudden it fades out.
But see, MTV's other agenda is all evil, so I think that's a conditioning to get you ready for it.
I think it's more along the lines of someone is upset in the organization. I mean, they have another one where they're on the subway.
Stuff slips out.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that I've noticed in the mainstream media, although there was a show out there called Jericho that just got canceled, where literally 23 cities get nuked. They blame Iran and North Korea, and it turns out it's not only the government, but the guy who's heading it up is the department head of the Homeland Security. And of course, they have, instead of Blackwater, Ravenwood is the the police force, and then they have, instead of KBR, they have Jennings and Rawle as the new government.
And the government is staging terror attacks to get martial law.
Exactly, and more on the vaccinations.
But just like the CIA approached the makers of X-Files and said, do an episode about a hijacked jet being flown into the World Trade Center to get martial law and blame Afghanistan, and the government uses a drill to confuse the rest of NORAD so they stand down. Do you think that's a warning, or do you think that's kind of them bragging?
I think definitely the second part, when you brought up the X-Files thing, that is kind of like a bragging thing, when they're showing you literally a commercial airliner about to hit the World Trade Center.
And it's the exact real reality of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that far off from when,
Yeah, the government uses drills to make the rest of the government be confused and stand down. And they want to attack Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that drill comment, I noticed that you posted, finally, NORAD is putting out those tapes that we got in August that we've been kind of putting on the web and in torrent sites, but now everybody has access to them. And if you listen to these tapes, I mean, literally, these drills
let's be
are going
clear.
on.
You guys went out there, and then they sent police and arrested one of you, because you were at the base going in and getting the tapes, and then they saw you, and then they tailed you, and all the fun started.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, and it took us a long time.
It's all part of freedom.
Yeah, and it took us a long time to get those tapes. We did get them. People have told us, they've got to be fake. They're not fake, okay? They may be vetted, but, I mean, they literally confirmed that the drills went on all the way through Flight 93 being down.
And the people are confused. They're going, is this real world or exercise? Why are all these drills going on? What's going on here?
Yeah, one guy's like, I was on the pooper, and I knew it was a drill. I mean, he comes out straight up, it's a drill. And then when one guy gets on the phone to Cheyenne Mountain after all the attacks are over, and he's like, listen, I'm staying on the line until these inputs are off my screen. I want this over with. And he's literally on hold for another 5-10 minutes.
Let's be clear, because they told us, when they turn the transponders off, all magically at the exact same second together, the planes disappeared, and all the controllers, everybody knows, they go, they don't disappear. You can see a sparrow on these things if it's a high enough altitude. They weren't chaffing. They then placed inputs over it to confuse them.
Absolutely. And another thing that is part of the quote-unquote official version is that they say that they didn't even emit hijack codes, these 4 planes. They didn't put in any hijack codes, which would be standard operating procedure for anybody being hijacked. It's a button. However, they had other flights that day that were supposedly hijacked that emitted several hijack codes. You assume that that's probably part of Global Guardian, the Mass Armageddon exercise, Vigilant Guardian, Northern Vigilance. It's got to be when you see
what's going to happen? These old, weird, unhappy psychopaths are all getting old and dying. Rockefeller, Cheney. They're just going to blow the earth up before they die. I really think they're just going to all get together in satanic outfits, and I'm not joking. And they're just going to go death and blow the whole earth up.
Well, I hope you're wrong.
Well, I just hope all the scum that serves them enjoy yourselves.
Well, I hope we can stand up. More and more people are waking up. But, are enough people out in the streets, are enough people voting for the local government? Well, this guy right here woke up. I think he might be a little bit asleep still, Alex.
Hey, Alex?
Yeah.
I just one other thing I wanted to ask you. I'm about the same age as you, and I've got 2 little kids, and one of the biggest things I have trouble with, and I know how important it is to keep the family intact, and that's one of the agenda of the globalists, is to try to break up the family, is trying to educate my wife of the agenda, of the elite's agenda.
Well, a lot of times women don't want to believe because it scares them, and so they'll just deny it's happening. But you've planted enough seeds. As she sees it unfold, she'll then come back to you and admit you're right. But if she's already being a little recalcitrant, if you try to push too hard when it all comes down, she'll just call and have them come arrest you.
Yeah. No, I understand it's a delicate balance. I just thought, I'm sure I share this with many other people out there, but I mean, it's a challenge, but at the same time, I know in the end it's worth.
I hear you, and I appreciate your call. We got to really move quick here, folks. We got so many calls. I want to make sure we go to calls who got left behind. Is Julie, Josh, Alex, Mike, Casey, any of them? I guess Josh is one holding. Oregon, Josh from Oregon, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Alex. Yeah, I just want I seen your report on the ministers for working for FEMA, and I really didn't believe it. I went and looked at it myself, and I'll tell you, I fell out of the chair. I was an evangelist.
Secret plan with FEMA to tell you to turn your guns in and go to camps. Now, we have the documents.
Right, I understand that. That's why I'm calling, is that I'm really concerned about. I used to be an evangelist for a church, and that scripture is taken completely out of context. If you have to read the whole scripture, and it says, "For he is God's minister to you for good." And there's been there's been story after story in the Bible. For example, Saul and David, John the Baptist against the king of Israel, and so on, where they confronted authority when they were doing evil. We can't have our churches involved with the government, and this is going to get fooled by this.
Well, absolutely. This is the essence of our First Amendment, is the government cannot have any involvement, much less secretly hire 26,000 preachers, and now they're suddenly all over TV, radio, and locally saying, turn your guns in, horrible things are coming, submit to the government, being, quote, a slave is good.
Right. Well, I heard your Marine on earlier. He still believes in this oath, and I'm a vet too, 8 years, and I still believe in mine. Just keep up the good work, and I know you got a lot of calls. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you. We not only have calls, ladies and gentlemen, we have
Jason Bermas.
Lord Bermas.
Alex, it really doesn't surprise me that these guys sold out in that manner. I mean, if you look at the history of organized religion, a lot of these guys end up being pedophiles. I mean, anybody that would rape your children and lie to your face and say they're a representative of God, it's probably not that hard to turn them over to say, hey, let's kick you a few $1,000s a month, and you're going to tell your church that the FEMA camps are good and that you need to submit and you need to get on the bus.
And your church won't get regulated by the IRS. We're going to leave you alone on that.
Exactly. It's all about profit to some of these people, and it's just disgusting. I just, again, hope that people don't blindly follow, any religious figure, especially when they're telling you such nonsense as the government is God.
And they actually say that. Okay, let's go ahead and take another call. Joel in Austin, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, Alex, what about the Terminator seeds? Have you heard of the seed vaults and stuff?
Monsanto's come out with a bunch of main plant lines where the plant then can't produce other seeds, and then they've been busy buying up almost all the smaller seed companies, putting them out of business, suing them, so that they have a monopoly on the generation of life. And now you're seeing food shortages and the rest of it directly tied to them, but then they offer the solution of more control after they create the crisis. Kind of like the Federal Reserve engineers the economic problems, and then they say, give us unlimited power and we'll fix it. It's always the same scam over and over again. Yeah, the Rockefellers and others have got huge seed vaults now with armed guards deep underground because they know they're going to just basically screw everything up, and then they're going to come out on top afterwards.
Right, and then they're only good for one harvest, and then they have to come back to them in order to basically, it's just another control.
To get the root seed stock, to get the original seed. Absolutely, Jason.
Right.
Well, the average American is still unaware of what Monsanto even is, but I found, it to be pretty encouraging that a few weeks ago down in South America, a few farmers went down there and revolted against Monsanto. I think they set the place on fire or something like that.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah, they're hip to it. They know that they're killing their farms.
Well, it's illegal to bring that in, that particular plant seed, and they still just did it.
Yeah, they're above the law in their mind. And, if you've ever seen the movie The Corporation, they really break it down how these entities begin to exist and how they get away with literally murder. And how they've, been able to genetically modify just about anything. It used to be that you were not able to patent life. And eventually, through lobbyists and our corrupt government, they said, you can patent life as long as it's not human life. And by human life, they mean 100% of human life.
And now they're injecting human DNA into cows and having cross-species humanoid chimeras. They're just throwing it all out.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anybody that doubts that chimeras exist, just do a quick Google search. And I suggest YouTube. I mean, you can literally see pigs now that glow in the dark because they've been injected with jellyfish DNA.
And they're sold in markets in Asia. And they have monkeys that glow in the dark that are jellyfish. Genetics in their skin. I have people come up to me on the street and go, "You're a liar, boy," and I just go, "But it's true."
It's not only true; it's well documented. It's on video. It's on mainline media, but they spin it as it might be a good thing, or look at this new novelty.
Well, here's the problem. They can change that one genetic trait to give it the jellyfish gene, but then it randomly, each generation, changes thousands of other traits, gives rise to superviruses, superbacteria. And I've had top scientists on. They have gene guns that randomly fire into it. I mean, it's very dangerous.
I totally agree. And, we have to be careful what we're doing scientifically with our species.
Or we could screw everything up. But the globalists don't care. As long as they can shove us around at the shopping malls, everything's good.
Well, they think they're Supermen, Alex, and, they're trying to reach for that rainbow of immortality and, godlikeness. And personally, that's not what I'm about. I'm about humanity in this world right now.
That's why they say you're weak.
They can say that, but, there's nothing but love in my heart, and I don't have this callousness or this hatred towards civilization, which I feel like they have. They just want to control everything. They want to treat us like we're sheeple, like we're less than human.
Well, they're also very reckless and dangerous. I mean, they're very dangerous. And they're just always how they want to love us and help us, and just absolute crap. Alex in New York, you're on the air with Bermas.
Hey, Alex.
Yes.
It's funny because I called in on my landline before, and for some reason, only this number, my phone physically turns off and then turns back on 3 seconds later, only when I called this number.
And then something else happens. That's strange. It's just an IP phone.
Yeah, I don't know. You must be on some crazy blacklist, but, I guess we knew that already.
It's all part of freedom, sir.
Yeah. But, there's few things that you covered that have made me more enraged than when you put that article up a while ago about the pastors being recruited by FEMA. And, you even had the documents in the article and everything right there. And, I was showing it to my parents and some other, my godparents and stuff, because they're very involved in the church system and stuff, and they're going, what's wrong with that? I mean, they can't understand why pastors being on government payroll is bad, But
not just government payroll, secret government payroll to go tell their flocks to submit to gun confiscation and martial law. And we have the documents, and it's like, well, that's good, submitting to martial law. I mean, that is secret police, secret takeover. I mean, this is the CIA and the government doing a long-term strategic preparation for the overthrow of the United States. I mean, this is a big deal.
Yeah. And, it took me, seriously, about 4 months of talking to my parents to get them to understand.
Now, are there preachers saying it's wonderful, too?
Oh, yeah. They're not going to that church anymore now, but we've been having a lot of that stuff around here. It's funny, the pastors they're doing it tend to be Masons, too, but that's not very surprising.
Oh, no, yeah. They're the ones doing get the kids' DNA, it's the CHIP program is what they call it.
Yeah, right.
Bunch of freaks.
My CHIP program. I actually wrote a thesis paper and interviewed a bunch of worshipful masters here about it. But the main reason for me calling is I want to cover this thing about the pastors and being recruited by FEMA on a public access show, and I'm wondering what sort of legal ramifications there are.
Nothing. Yeah, I mean, look, and I appreciate your call. Everybody's got to quit worrying about what's going to happen to them. Think about being me. I mean, I have, committed to this. We got to fight these people, expose them. It's criminal. Show how it violates the First Amendment, how it's creepy. I mean, that's martial law. And now they're announcing curfews all over the country for adults. I mean, that's martial law, folks. We're going into tyranny.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of when you showed the FBI saying that the Founding Fathers were indeed terrorists in your movie Road to Tyranny. Yeah. Yeah, it's just incredible what they'll get away with. The Founding Fathers, the people that wrote our Bill of Rights and Constitution that brought this country to greatness, are now considered terrorists, and they are training people for that.
Hey, this is the cover of the Statesman. and I keep making a big deal out of this because it is a big deal. I mean, it's even better, the original paper, but Mesa wouldn't give it to me. Somebody needs to send me what's the date on this, because I don't take the Statesman. Sunday, March 30th, like 17 days ago. It says everything must go. The Constitution is being burned. And it says how to fight terrorism. See, it's in the way of that. That's the image. And then you read in there, and it says get rid of the Constitution, that freedom is bad. I mean, I'm just sick of it, man.
Yeah, I'm totally sick of it, too.
We're the bad guys. We're the kooks because we don't like that. Yeah,
they're trying to usher in this new global government, and I'm afraid that if our economy keeps getting lower and they're able to pull off this North American Union, maybe bring the peso up to the point where they're like, well, now we're on parity with Canada and Mexico. It's time for the Amero or whatever they want to call it. They're going to usher in that new government just like they did with the EU, where it starts out as, trading treaties, Alex, and it ends up with new provisions and laws that are in no way related to your Constitution.
It's amazing. They started their really big police state with the drug war, asset forfeiture, seizure, taking your money without a judge or jury or indictment. And then now they've moved it on to terrorism, but it was only for cave dwellers. And now they say it's blonde-haired, blue-eyed. They're everywhere, and they're just pulling white guys over and taking their DNA. But the border stays wide open.
Again, they have this new white Al-Qaeda army as a talking point right after the talking point of 9/11 truthers are going to be terrorists. They're going to be the next Tim McVeigh, the Simon Wiesenthal presentation. And
that's a talking point everywhere.
Yeah.
The Wiesenthals come out, say that before Congress, and then suddenly it's all over TV that the 9/11 truthers are violent with no evidence.
Mm-hmm. And they've always tried to equate We Are Change with the Weathermen. I've noticed there's been a big pull on the History Channel showing the Weathermen as like heroes and some of the older guys. And We Are Change has never done anything violent, never planned anything violent. They're peaceful protesters. They know their First Amendment. They're smart guys. Luke Rudowski is one of my personal friends and heroes. And for people to try to demonize him in that manner and say, oh, they're going to be in rooms planning bombings and they're the next terrorists, that's spooky to me. And then when you see this Wiesenthal presentation, it's very slick because they started out right before they introduced 9/11 Truth into the mix of showing Al-Qaeda snuff films. Literally people walking up to other people, shooting them, the Nick Berg beheadings, a couple other beheadings, and then all of a sudden it just fades out, and for about 30 seconds we get to see the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth site and some other prominent sites, and then it just fades into the background.
Yeah, and then suddenly it's a talking point. Look at this. Feds to collect DNA from every person they arrest. And I do have press reports coming in from Tennessee and California and Colorado where they randomly pull you over and take your DNA. And now the feds are federalizing the local police. I mean, people, you better get involved in this now. There's a reason you don't have feds being local. Because the federal government historically is always very, very dangerous to your liberties, to your freedoms. But there it is, feds to collect DNA from every person they arrest. And your take on that, Bermas?
Well, you don't even have to be a criminal. In fact, you can be a child. A lot of my friends went into teaching, and they're grade school teachers. And my really good friend, I've known him since I was like 10 years old. He said, one day they walked in with DNA packets for all my students with swabs, and he said, you're going to give these to your kids. And he's like, wait a minute. I don't remember a permission slip for this. I never told their parents. And they're like, oh, no, this is just part of the program now. We don't ask the parents. And he's like, I'm not giving my kids this. You're out of your mind, But I'm sure there are other teachers in that school that were all for it and just handing them out to the children, swab away. This is going in a database.
Well, that was actually in the news. In England, they don't tell the parents, and it's illegal, but they take their DNA. But they've got it from everybody at birth, 35 and younger, in England and in the U.S. program. That's now been in the news. So, just remember that, folks. That's how criminal they are. But in England, they also said it's James Bond Day for third graders, nationwide, same day. Don't tell your parents you're now spies with us. You're now James Bond 007. So they're getting a relationship with the children saying, don't tell anybody you're secret agents with us, creating that secret relationship from the school and the child against the parent. That total criminality, totally evil, the state being God right there. Now it gets worse. Then they came in the next day and said, you're nationwide, you're James Bond. They had local police there with federal grants, with retina scanners, total biometric scanners, getting them into the database, and they told them, don't tell your parents you're James Bond.
Yeah.
So see, now abusing their rights. This is your dirtbag criminal government.
It seems like the next step in the DARE program, really, where they brainwashed kids against their parents and, ooh, do your parents smoke marijuana? Maybe you should report them. Do they fight a lot? Just any way they can get you into the
Shirt off says fingerprints aren't personal data. He said that in the AP. This is a Think Progress article about it. But, your fingerprints aren't part of your personal data. Comments on that?
Yeah, it's reminiscent of when Michael Hayden said that the Fourth Amendment is a reasonable search and seizure and not probable cause. They try to twist the language. They try to twist the laws until it fits into their paradigm, and then they announce it, in the mainstream media, and people accept it.
Here's a CNN piece. More airports to use whole-body imaging machines, and it says it's been in Phoenix and other places, but now all over the country, hundreds of airports, and these give you color images of your naked body. 360, they make you walk into it, and they record your naked body on a hard disk. I mean, and again, it's about setting that amazing precedent that you're a slave. This is out of CNN. Got it posted, part of it up on prisonplanet.com. Your take on that, Bermas?
Yeah, it's like Total Recall, a film we saw in the 90s where everybody goes through the little scanner, and it's, it seems like we've been prepped for this forever. This is the new technology, and when you actually see what these things look like, I saw a new type of these cameras being announced on RLS log a couple weeks ago, and it's just amazing what they're able to do. I mean, different spectrums of light. Basically, they can go through these different spectrums and see through just about anything on your body.
And exactly, and these just aren't the machines where you walk in, and I say it gives you better vision than even your eyes get, because you see every pore on a woman. You see everything on her breast. I mean, you see their body parts. You see parts of their vagina when you're looking. You see the men's genitalia. I mean, it's all right there, and they're going to film your whole family. This is your degenerate government. I mean, they're scum, but the border's wide open, and they gave the so-called hijackers their visas into the country when it said they were terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough that you can't bring a bottle of water on a plane anymore. It's not enough that we have to take off our shoes at the airport. It's not enough that my XL2, my camcorder, gets swabbed for bomb-making materials after it goes through two separate
X-ray
machines.
That's all about making you think terror is real.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like, come on. I mean, is my camera really terror-worthy where you're going to take it over for the swab test? Do I really have to stand? I don't know if you stand in these new things where the air pops up on you like 6 different places. Yeah. And
it's they single you out and you go over
exactly. I've never seen anybody go through that and then all of a sudden let's take them to the side.
Oh, that's guilty. Like $1 million spectrum analyzer.
Yeah, it's incredible. And where are the arrests? Where are the criminals that this is supposed to be catching?
Look at this one. This is out of the Online Journal, and it's got its mainstream quotes and sources there. But FBI email says Bush signed executive order authorizing torture. We already have the White House memos, quote, authorizing, and it says torturing children. And I keep bringing this up because I want to ask the police out there. I mean, you support sexual torture of children now? And because you support the war on terror, you believe it's Al-Qaeda. Jason, why do you think they're so bold when they just come out with stuff like this?
Because we're so asleep. It's easy to be that bold when, most of the population is concerned about American Idol 3 times a week, And then when they go to their news, they're not watching, very few of them even watch CNN, MSNBC, the mainline propaganda. They watch E.T. That's their news. Oh, entertainment television. Or they just go to the E! Network where they can just, be pacified 24/7 with things like The Girls Next Door and Kim Kardashian. Total unimportant garbage that...
Meanwhile, if they do everything the government says because they're afraid of Al-Qaeda attacking them.
Yeah, they believe into this false terror paradigm, and then when they actually see the information, a lot of them fold. They'll be like, oh my God, I don't even want to ask this. I can't do anything about this. I don't want to believe this reality, even if it is real. I'm going to take a step back.
Hey, Al-Qaeda's real. I got a picture of Bin Laden right here.
Oh, is that Bin Laden right there?
Yeah.
Little sword? I like that.
That's a now big star on the show there.
Oh, man.
You got to laugh about this, but does it ever get to you like it does me now more and more, where I'm just like, man, what have I gotten into? But I have no choice, and everything's screwed up, and we have to fight them. I mean, it's just, how do we get psychopathic eugenics nuts running everything?
In the beginning, I really lost a lot of sleep. I'm from New York, and that really hit me hard on the day. And when I started to, come across information that, NORAD stood down and there may have been insider trading, and then into the controlled demolition in World Trade Center Building 7, which eventually led me to Road to Tyranny after about 2 months of my research. And I found that, and boy, Alex, I've said this before, but I didn't want to believe any of it. I wanted to prove you wrong on just about everything. And I went through that movie with a fine-tooth comb to go through your sourcing. And just again and again, I was able to find the source material, and I was just like, wow, this is awful. This is just terrible. I can't believe this about fluoride. I remember when I was in preschool, and they had the little red fluoride pill that they were handing out during nap time. And, back then, my mother...
By the way, that is hundreds of times what they even admit is safe.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Massive IQ attacker.
Absolutely, and my mother was like, you're not taking that, and I didn't really understand why at the time. I'm like, well, all the kids are taking it, it's got sugar in it, why aren't I taking it?
All the kids get their DNA taken without warrants, all the kids get IQ chemical weapon, and then they grow up to be cops who love it. Thank you, government, for attacking me. Oh, thank you, I love you.
It's total indoctrination, and that was another wake-up call. I mean, when I found that out, I started searching out more of your material, and I saw some of your shorts on vaccinations, and I'm like, I'd heard that in the background before, but I was like, come on, they're not really poisoning us with vaccinations. And then I find out, oh, delicious SV40, simian virus 40 is a preservative in them, and thimerosal with mercury, which my teachers have told me thousands of times is poisonous, are the preservatives. What's going on here? And then you find out about the autism link. And it's just incredible. Just like you say, there are more and more autistic people everywhere. It's to the point now that Comedy Central has a yearly program based on autism, where it's the Night of 1,000 Stars, and it's all about autism and autism funding. Well, if they really want to stop autism, maybe instead of a Night of 1,000 Stars, maybe those stars, instead of cracking jokes, should be like, hey, there's thimerosal in your vaccines.
And that's only part of it. It's the fluoride. It's a whole cocktail of things. And they know. Again, the average person can't believe that there is a scientific elite called eugenicists who publicly in the 20s and 30s and 40s said they would do this. And they run all the major agencies still, or their sons or daughters do, and they're just doing it to us.
Yeah, it is incredible, Alex, but when you take a step back and you look at history and you look at these declassified programs, I mean, MK Ultra should be a huge eye-opener for anybody. The fact that they not only tested on people who, came in, but unwilling participants. Didn't they release bioweapons in the New York subway just to see how it would go?
Yeah, that's one of thousands of examples. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can bring up the Tuskegee experiments, of course, but really those MK Ultra papers that are declassified.
Well, Dr. Ewing Cameron, admittedly, over 10,000 American and Canadian citizens, children, foster children, taken, and we're talking 2-3 year programs where they would erase their minds with electroshock therapy, PCP, LSD mixed with peyote, audio recordings for 6 months at a time saying the same thing with audio commands, and then first they erase their memory, then they make a new person.
And they don't understand that.
But hey, I guess the White House writes memos about sexually raping children. Why not go ahead and just grab little kids and torture them?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
You know what? I'm not going to go along with you guys. You may have a bunch of scum out in the street convinced this is all normal, but we're not going along with it.
And I want to point out that's still going on. John Ronson.
Oh, yeah, it's just now been declassified.
Well, in Crazy Rulers of the World, the second part of that, they show the program in Gitmo where they're playing Barney's song over and over again while they're torturing these people. I mean, 24/7, these people are hearing, I love you,
and by the way, they admit all of them are innocent. They go and pick up people, and they get $25,000, $30,000 bounties. The Taliban and Al-Qaeda, who work for our government, give them. I've had the CIA section chief on, admitted this, and this has been in the news for those that are out there doubting it. They just give them innocent people. And then, well, why do they have the camp? For the public to think that there's a real terrorist. And they admit it is a laboratory for torture.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's admitted. It is a laboratory to test.
It is, Alex, and it's very, very, very frightening that they're literally rounding up who they want and then testing things out on them. If you don't believe that we're in league with the Taliban, just read the news stories, the mainline news stories, that we flew out a lot of the Taliban on C-130s.
6,000 to safety, they're called the airlift of evil.
And it was a big mistake. That's how they spin it.
Well, the generals would catch the top Al-Qaeda, and they'd be ordered, release them, and they'd have to fly them out. Mm-hmm. And they'd even give them a lot of money.
Yeah, they go out to Syria, another supposed terrorist enemy. That's where all these insurgents are coming from. Well, then why are we flying our enemies out there? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense until you find out.
By the way, not flying them for torture, flying them to safety.
Yeah, flying them out of Afghanistan, flying them into Syria to do God knows what.
And then they would order them to beat to death innocent goat herders. That's what Taxi Cab to Evil, Dark Side's about. Mm-hmm. And again, it's about creating cadres to come back and torture us. The torture isn't about fighting Al-Qaeda. It's about making us evil, selling us on evil. Let's just take a bunch of calls. I'm going to give each caller a minute. David in Canada, you're on the air with Bermas.
Yeah, good afternoon, Alex. I was pleased to hear your question to Bermas about, how do you kind of reconcile what's going on around you with, the day-to-day living. And I know that I
reconcile it because we're in a fight against Al-Qaeda. And they said that Al-Qaeda is going to get me if I don't give up all of my rights.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's not connected to reality. And at a certain level, I think Christine Bermas hinted at this when she chatted with you or a little while ago, is that we really have to raise our consciousness and, in the midst of all this insanity, sort of tie into prayer and those kinds of avenues to strengthen ourselves, because that's going to be the strength that gives us the ability to help others when they get to a point where they really recognize what's going on. I think
now they taser you if you don't have a ticket stub as punishment on a train. I mean, it's mainstream news. We're entering total Twilight Zone here.
And I'm glad...
Absolutely, and but we also have to take care of ourselves so that we're able to prepare for whatever's coming. We also have to be in a position. I know that there was a lot of times when I was trying to deal with this information that it really got you down, and you felt it was very difficult to kind of move forward and figure out.
Well, now, I mean, I want to be clear. It's not that I'm getting down now. It's that I'm realizing that I keep thinking they're going to stop or they'll back off or the evil will quit or it'll slow down. It doesn't. It just gets wilder and crazier, and that's the behavioral psychologist putting out government memos saying rape children, crush them with pliers in front of their parents, taser them if they don't answer questions, taser you if you're on the train without a ticket, federalize the police, hire the preachers to be secret spies, and tell their flocks to let the government have their children. I mean, this is hellish. I mean, they make it so shocking that it just kind of makes you go, what do you do? But go ahead.
And that's kind of, we have to sort of, I think the reason they're trying to roll out these systems as quickly as they are is the whole thing's going to collapse, and it's not just going to collapse on us, it's going to collapse on basically everyone, the perpetrators included. And
no, I agree with you.
The game isn't written. I don't think the game is written yet where we can definitively say that, anything's going to happen. But one of the concerns I have about some of the way this information impacts people and some of the way they respond to it is it creates a lot of fear, creates a lot of negative kind of energy within the system that doesn't allow people, and it's normal. It's like if you're dying, if you realize you're dying, there's certain phases you go through before you recognize, what's going on, and you kind of accept what's going on, and then you act and step into it. And I think I would encourage your listeners. This information.
Make it quick, man. I got like 50 calls here.
Well, I just encourage your listeners to, be kind to themselves and take care of themselves so that as things...
No, I totally agree with you, and I appreciate your call. What I would do in the past is, like 10 years ago, I used to run and lift weights and be all healthy, and I really got deep into this in about 1998, and I just said, you know what, I'm going to stop working out. I'm going to go drink a beer. I'm going to smoke cigarettes because I thought I'd be killed in a month. But then that kind of did kill me because it gives you an idea to be self-destructive. And now I'm going in the opposite direction because... And I just leave it all in God's hands. Bermas, is that what you do?
Yeah, I just have to be positive about everything because it is scary, Alex. And we live in such a technologically different society than, say, when, Hitler was able to take over Germany, where you were talking about tasers. Well, the X-Rep taser is a wireless taser that's a 14-gram capsule that shoots out of a shotgun. And anybody can go Google this and go check it out, and it's got 3 little prongs on it. They're literally going to be able to say, halt, from 30 yards away and shoot you with a wireless taser. Cops are going to be having this in less than 18 months now.
And that, again, as I said years ago, habitualizes them for the image of triggers being pulled, to habitualize the image of them shooting, just like with the rubber bullets. It's getting them ready and everybody ready for them to really kill us. It trains them to attack us for tiny infractions.
Yeah, and we're living in a time where it's almost like the Terminator. I mean, I don't know if you've seen these new military exosuits, but it's something out of like Aliens where they're fighting the aliens in those big suits. But literally, we're creating Supermen. This is a suit that's easily stepped into.
Let's take another call. Exactly. No, I agree with you. The problem is we got to go to the calls.
Yeah, you got it.
Or they'll say we're with Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, obviously.
I tell you, he's not letting them take the calls. It's this guy. It's all his fault. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Women out there have been asking for me to give them a topless picture of myself. So
you should put out a calendar like 12 months of Alex. That's what I want to see.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, me in all my glory. It's not me, it's photoshopped. It's funny, though. All right, I'm going to stop it. I try to joke around, but then I later get guilty saying this is too serious. But I was serious for 3 hours earlier. Mm-hmm. And, I am a guy who jokes around and screws around.
You are. Yeah. You're a lighthearted guy. A lot of people don't understand that because, you do rail on people for 3, now 4, sometimes 5 hours on the radio. But if you can't look at it and just have some sort of a sick, twisted sense of humor about it, you're not going to be able to get by. I know plenty of people that have gone in the other direction because they just can't deal with it. But, I'm one of those people that has to deal with reality, and I've always joked around all my life, so why would I change it now? And I feel that's an easier way to relate to people that don't know this information. Crack a couple jokes with them, have a beer, then whip your cell phone out and show them Building 7. Then that'll start it off, and you'll be like, oh, this guy seems kind of normal, and we watched a ball game together. He doesn't seem like one of those guys.
I agree with you about the easy approach is always nice, but at the same time, we're in a red level crisis here.
Yeah.
We got to get people awake now. Okay, let's go to David in Texas. You're on the air with Bermas, and here's a photo of Bermas. Go ahead.
How y'all doing?
Good, man.
I don't have a computer hooked up right now, so I can't see the photo, but I was going to say a couple of things about, I saw that debate last night. Those two candidates, neither one of them know the Constitution. And they don't know the Second Amendment.
What, Lord Obama and Lord Hillary?
Yeah, they're talking about how they're going to regulate gun ownership, but theoretically still respect it at the same time.
Yeah, because there's never enough. They've always got to have more, and the Republicans have been doing it. Now they're doing door-to-door gun confiscations in the name of knock and talk, and they want socialized health care so they can carry out eugenics against you. Yeah, and then they say old people aren't going to be getting health care under the new system. I'm not kidding. It says the bioethics boards will decide who gets health care and who doesn't.
Well, there's several things. First of all, they say they're going to regulate the Second Amendment, even though the Second Amendment itself says that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
But see, that's what the Supreme Court's going to rule. They're going to rule that, you have a Second Amendment, it's a right for us to ban your guns. That's what the courts keep saying. You've got a right, but we can restrict it, and that's what Hillary's saying. They've tripled the size of the BATF. They're coming after all gun owners. The dark age of gun grabbing has begun, and the NRA won't tell you. Go ahead.
Well, what they're proposing isn't constitutional at all.
Yeah, the government is criminal. The government is evil. They're pure scum. It's not constitutional that they criminally take DNA from everybody born in a hospital for the last 35 years, but the scumbags do it. It's not constitutional that cops pull you over now and demand to suck blood out of you on the side of the road or a cheek swab, but I got news articles where they're doing it. That's what I mean. They're making their move, man. They're just going wild. I appreciate your call. Bermas, they really are going wild, aren't they?
They really are, and, I live in New York where, it's almost impossible to get a concealed carry permit for a pistol. I mean, almost nobody can get it.
Unless you're a gangster, yeah.
Yeah, unless you're a gangster or a police officer or a military person. That's about it. And otherwise, you have to get all these recommendations, and there are more cops than ever in the city.
And that's what they do. They turn a right into a privilege.
Exactly.
I already hear cops on the news saying it's a privilege to own a gun. No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. And like Jesse Ventura said on your show, the Second Amendment is not there so we can hunt deer. Okay, it's there to protect ourselves from tyrannical governments. And if people don't realize that the government now in power in this country is tyrannical, they need, I don't know what they need. They need some kind of a lesson, like a weekly program.
And it's tyrannical and writing torture memos and gearing up to go after, again, the grid they're building isn't to go after guys with big beards going durka, durka, durka. It is the whole thing, what?
I just like the the
durka,
Team America,
durka,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Durka, World Police.
Anyways, America, oh yeah, fighting for your freedom.
Oh, man. That's a great movie.
FEMA camps, yeah. Checkpoints, yeah. No due process, yeah.
Yeah. Chips in our arms and hands, yay!
America, we're gonna taser you for no reason, yeah. Open borders, yeah.
And it's sad it's gotten to that point, but it's here. I mean, they have no intentions of securing our borders. You know about the Trans-Texas Corridor. Obviously, this is the program
doesn't
where
exist,
I live. Yeah, apparently it doesn't exist. And the other
You'll see billboards up everywhere for it. And it's a bit,
yeah, and the other three superhighways
you can get on it about 10 miles north of here.
Oh, can you really?
It doesn't exist.
Oh, it doesn't? Well, the other three roads they want to build don't exist either. Those SPP agreements, the Securities and Prosperities Partnership, apparently is a myth.
Well, Gary Hart just said the other day in Denver he never called for a New World Order. He said, told them they were liars.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if we have video of it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if we have video of it, if he has a new book out there railing against
they got the guys with the guns. They own the banks. That's basically what they're letting us know. In fact, that's what Gary Hart said. They said, but sir, we have you on video. And he says, doesn't matter what you have.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter because I have guys with guns with IQs about 70 points.
This is the same guy that wrote a letter to Ahmadinejad saying,
stage terror.
Oh, by the way, if you don't know about the Gulf of Tonkin, maybe you should look into it because we're not above that. I mean, it's just wild, and that got no play in the press. Most people don't know who Gary Hart is. He's under the radar, and that's the problem. People aren't involved in government. They don't know their local government.
Well, that's why he would write a letter saying we'll stage terror attacks.
Yeah, it's
public letter in newspapers.
Yeah, it's why I think
just like they put in our newspaper that they're getting rid of, that they're going to burn the Constitution.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why networks like C-SPAN exist. They don't expect the public to watch the hearings. They don't expect the public to pay attention. But it's there for the other elitists to kind of, smarmily snark over. Oh, look at this. Yes, our plan's going perfectly. Look at the legislation we're passing. Oh, Military Commissions Act. Yay! End of habeas corpus. Yay! Oh, and a lot of people probably still don't even know what habeas corpus is. I was in Manhattan Community College giving a little lecture right before I came down here, and I mentioned habeas corpus, and I just saw these dumb looks faces.
Or if you say posse comitatus, he'll go snobble, bobble, snobble.
Yeah, what's that? Is that a new beverage? What posse comitatus? Can I get that at my local bar?
And they have no idea why it was there and what it means.
Yeah, none.
Well, here's the deal. All the big law schools now are putting in deans like Bobbitt, who says there's no Constitution, no Bill of Rights, and that we should have no freedoms. And the National Bar Association 8 years ago called for getting rid of juries.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan to end the Constitution.
Let's get rid of juries.
It's all for security, Alex. We have to be safe. I mean, you want your family to be safe, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, me too.
Safe from Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, Al-Qaeda and our terrorist enemies. Because it's not just Al-Qaeda now. It's these white, blue-haired, blue-eyed Al-Qaeda.
Look, Al-Qaeda now has now become reincarnated as Satan, and there's actual devils running around attacking everybody. There it is, dude. Al-Qaeda. That's where bin Laden is.
Oh, man. Well, you know what I love is that, in the beginning of this war on terror, after the first, 18, 24 months, we've got Al-Qaeda on the run. They're almost decimated. They're gone. There's not that many left.
We're not worried about Al-Qaeda. It's Saddam. And then now Al-Qaeda's everywhere. Oh, my God, they're going to kill everybody. Give up all your rights.
Yeah,
That's what Gary Hart said when they were talking to him, he said, listen, you just better accept global government or tens of millions will die.
Well, again, in that New World Order clip, he's also holding up a Peter Singer book, New World Coming. And a few years back, he's the guy
that calls for 90% extermination, just like Pianka.
And when I read this book, I was disgusted. I mean, he used 9/11 throughout the book as kind of like the base of why we need to do all these new things and how, Mother Earth, is better than us and we have to regroup and this is the new one world government coming. And I mean, it was literally vomitous when I'm going through this thing. And, my one buddy is sitting there, he's reading it like it's the greatest thing ever. He's like, oh, you got to read this book. He's dead on. We need a one world government. I'm like, are you listening to yourself?
But then if you say you don't want it, then it's like you'd say it doesn't exist.
Exactly. It's that
double think.
Yeah, that double think that it exists if you're for it, but if you oppose it, then you're a kook and it doesn't exist. It's kind of like the part of the Patriot Act, I believe, where they say, oh, those people that talk about New World Order conspiracies, they're terrorists too. We need to get those people. It doesn't matter if, people such as Jesse Jackson, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Dick Cheney, Bush 1, Bush 2 Bill Clinton have all stated that.
And they say publicly what it means. It means a tyrannical world government where you have no say.
Yeah.
Where they reduce your standard of living by about 70%. Mm-hmm. They all say it, and then they prance around saying, or Al-Qaeda will get you.
Yeah, and I have 1970s clips where they're talking about Kissinger's New World Order and the restructuring of the Middle East. And, Kissinger gets on Charlie Rose years back, and he's like, oh, yeah, the last 20 minutes is a total New World Order conversation. Are we in a New World Order? What do we do to make it better? Where is this New World Order going? Then he comes back on a couple weeks later with Zygmunt Brzezinski and Brent Snowcroft, and the second question out of Charlie Rose's mouth is about the New World Order. But shut up, it doesn't exist. Just because Trilateral Commission member and Obama... what's he doing now for Obama? I forget. He's the main...
foreign policy advisor.
Yeah, he's his foreign policy advisor.
Brzezinski.
Yeah, Brzezinski. Just because he's saying it doesn't exist, it's not real.
You're with Al-Qaeda.
Yeah, I must be.
Let's go ahead and take another phone call here. Let's talk to Justin in Texas. Got to move quick now.
Hi, guys.
Hey, man.
Hey, I just was calling in to ask a question, and maybe both of you guys that like to address it. I was wondering if Jason and Dylan and Corey have had a chance to apologize to Bernard Brown for accusing him of murdering his son yet? Or talk to the Binghams and Beamer family to apologize to them?
I sure would love to address that comment.
Hey, thanks for the call. What's he talking
it's
about?
nonsense. Basically, one of the things, I think Dylan posted something about, he never said that the guy killed his son, but one of the children that died on one of the planes, when he sent him away on the plane that morning, the kid was scared, and he said, "Oh, don't be scared. Everybody dies someday." And that was a newspaper quote, and I think he blogged that once. So apparently, we accused that guy of murder. We never accused anybody of murder.
I'm not going to sit here and talk to you. I appreciate your call. What always happens with these guys, and it's their standard MO, it's like when you're out at ground zero, and these guys will basically point blank tell you they're feds. Mm-hmm. These are scary, scummy, really weird people, really, and they'll walk over. And they'll just, have you ever seen me in martial law on the communist video?
Oh, yeah.
Where I walk over real friendly. I'm like, "Hi, man, what does your sign mean?" And the guy goes, "Did you hear him? Did you hear what he just said? Very, very nasty.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very mean thing he just said to her." Well, it was disinfo. Same thing with him. They'll go, "He just said the firefighters blew it up, that they were Al-Qaeda." And I go, "No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying they were told to get back. It was going to be brought down." And they just start shouting that. And so it's like, "Did you just see what he just said?"
Absolutely.
Bermas, how dare you?
Another thing, he brought up the Bingham family. Well, yeah, I have been in contact with the Bingham family, actually. And we emailed back and forth quite a bit. We gave them a free DVD, a Loose Change Second Edition, probably about 2 years ago now. And when we showed them the evidence of Flight 93 not being downed in that open field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, they got very upset.
Well, that's why the operatives are scared.
Yeah, we have people like Bob McIlvaine
and I guess the torture memos aren't real either.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't lie about WMDs. How does that guy operate, these operatives?
They have to
you can always tell an operative.
Yeah, they have to do something. They have to create a straw man, and then you're quoted at that. I once was quoted as saying that the firefighters were paid off, and what I was meaning was talking about, well, they took the compensation fund and they weren't allowed to
they were
sue.
told they had to sign a deal saying they'd shut up to get the money.
Yeah, exactly. And then they make it off like, "Oh, these guys knew about a huge conspiracy and they're covering it up." No, they're not covering it up. They signed something. They're not allowed to take legal action now. Even those that did take legal action and sued the FAA and some of the airlines, eventually it happened.
Let me just tell that guy, your government op has failed. The information is out. You haven't deflected us. Look at Ventura. Look at Willie Nelson. Look at the best actress. Look at the Italian president. Look at the former German defense minister of defense on this show 2 days ago. I want the feds to know something. You are failing, and you just chose to go along with the torture memos of the children. You just chose to go along with the eugenics, and the head of the Human Genome Project, who ran it when it was the eugenics program, who called for all the blacks being subhuman. You're going along with all of that. Shame on you because of your worship of government that you'd call in with disinfo tactics like that. But it just means we're kicking your ass. And again, you can't win. We've already been committed to this. Whatever happens to us, we're not going to shut up. We're never going away. I'm committed no matter what you do to me. And you don't like that, do you? Because I'm ready to die. I'm ready to be set up. I'm ready for you to piss all over me in your prisons. Because in the end, you go to hell. In the end, you lose. In the end, you die of the cancer viruses your bosses put in you. And you drink the fluoride and give it to your kid. Because you don't believe anything I'm saying because you're compartmentalized trash. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and go to another call. Scott in Texas, you're on the air.
Oh, hi, Alex.
Hello.
Just to kind of maybe change gears just a tad bit, do you know someone called John Lear?
The name rings a bell.
He flew the Learjet.
Oh, yeah, John Lear, sure, who's come out. I've tried to get him on. I haven't been successful. That's an idea. Will you guys go tell Trey before I forget? I want John Lear. It's his son who's alive, who's involved in designing them, too, who goes around on shows saying 9/11's an inside job. I want John Lear's son, or is that who you're talking about, John Lear or the son?
No, I think maybe it's his father.
No, the father. I'm talking about the son. I want John Lear on. Go tell Eddie before I forget.
Yeah, maybe he's the son. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, go ahead.
You can Google his name, but he's got a long history of accomplishments. And
I understand. He's an engineer.
Over 19,000 hours of flight time. But he talks about some interesting stuff, about the base on the dark side of the moon, and that we already have people on Mars, and that our government's already sending ships to and from, and that life does exist on Venus, but the government says, well, it's 800 degrees and nothing can survive there in the atmosphere.
But I mean, here's the deal. If I've got preachers recruited to train everybody to go to FEMA camps, and I know they're putting cancer viruses in shots, and I know they're putting fluoride in the water, that they admit brain damages, and cell phones killing all these people, why then do I have to stay focused on issues I can't prove? Because I know Lear also mixes in the 9/11's an inside job. I appreciate your call. You know what? I'm just going to go over. I'm making that announcement now, Bermas. You happy to do that?
No, absolutely.
That's how this new transmission works.
No, it's good times. I love the going over. It's a bonus for your audience, Alex, and I think it's going to be a big boost.
Well, I want to get refocused here and get serious. I want to cover FBI emails, says Bush signed executive order authorizing torture. We know we already had memos written that said it. I also want to get into... I had a story about cell phone cover-up, and I never get to this. I just say, cell phones are frying your brain. Well, I'm going to cover this article today, and I want to get your take on that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take like 5-6 more calls, and we're done with calls. Gilbert in El Paso, Texas, go ahead.
Yes, thanks for taking my call. The reason I called is because I wanted to discuss something that is kind of not in the radar right now in the mainstream media, not surprisingly. And the thing is that Exxon and Texaco and Shell right now are trying to take the first step in privatizing the state-owned Pemex of Mexico, which, in my opinion, is going to cause a lot more, which is an imperialistic.
And then that's why you hear Bush wants to give them $147 billion in anti-terror funds, and it's really a public payoff to hand that over.
Right, and what that's going to do is that's going to create more immigration in that. People are going to become more starving poor.
Yeah,
and
that's the plan.
And I think the best way to fight immigration is to stop the imperialism that is going on in Latin America, because we know that these countries are rich countries, just the people are poor. And they're poor because the globalist imperialists go in there and take everything for themselves.
Yeah, that's how it works.
That's the government.
That's exactly how it works, and they work every side of the political spectrum.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some play on that, because just the mainstream media is not really covering it. And I was looking at some of the push polls that they were running on Televisa. They're tricking the people into voting against their own interests. They're making it sound like, hey, we could use these big international global oil corporations to help us reach oils that we can't reach on our own.
Yeah, like the Mexican government can't get to any of that oil. They can hire the companies to come in there anytime.
Right, but what they don't tell them is that the international oil corporations don't allow them to build their own refineries, which would save them hundreds of billions of dollars, and they could have bought their own technology, and the people could make a living in Mexico, and you would see a lot less immigration, but it's just not going to happen as long.
No, I agree with you, and I appreciate your call. They wage war against the people in Mexico by letting them all come up here, because then that stops revolution from happening down there. Then they wage war against the middle class here by blowing out the states, the cities, hospitals, welfare, prisons, so the feds can come in even more. You have these top 100 global corporations that own the Fortune 5,000. They're all subsidiaries, basically. And they just are saying, hey, the world's ours. Shut up. You don't have any rights. We're getting rid of the Constitution. We're getting rid of the Bill of Rights. And in Mexico, they're already enslaved. The people go riot down there. The cops just drive up and shoot them.
Yeah, it's further consolidation of power, Alex, and we're going to see more and more of it. And we've seen so much of it in the last, 100 years that it's accelerated now to a point where it's almost blasé. But yeah, it is very important when you have like 3 oil cartels getting together and saying, oh yeah, we're going to take this too, and we're going to take government funding for it, and it's going to be all good and great. But, again, not that surprising. And, people need to wake up to this corporate control.
Well, also, these globalists are so big, it's not privatization. These are international institutions, governments. Mm-hmm. In fact, of the 100 biggest economies, almost 50 of them are corporations now.
Yeah.
These people have to... The problem is the public isn't involved in how the world works. They have no idea how bad it's gotten, no idea how complex it is, no idea how ruthless these people are.
Yeah, and, one of the really scary ones to me is the way that Halliburton got the contracts to build all these FEMA camps in this country, and then they decided to move their base of operations into Dubai. Well, I've got news for people. If they do ever decide to round us up and put us into camps, we're not going to be able to go to the Halliburton base and, revolt. They're just going to keep sending Blackwater troops or CACI forces in, and it's going to be a privatized army, and you're never going to be able to get to the actual perpetrators, the actual base at Halliburton in Dubai. So I see these guys structuring themselves outside of our resistance.
They are multinational criminals.
Yeah.
They've already bought land in Paraguay. They're already evacuating to Dubai. I'm not going to say it. I know somebody named, I'm not going to say it. I know somebody worth $6 billion. Mm-hmm. And they have fled the country, and they say the U.S. won't even be here. They said, for all intents and purposes, it won't even exist. And I'm like, what does that mean? And they just go, it's gone.
And that's just so scary. And if you look at Dubai, I mean, they're literally building these islands out of it
looks like
metal.
Star Trek.
It does. It's spooky that these guys...
twice the size of the World Trade Center?
Yeah, shaped in palm trees, these islands, and you can go to Google Maps and check them out. And for them to put their base of operations so far outside of America...
I mean, it's also, pedophilia is legal there.
Yeah.
I mean, not legal, but everybody's involved in it.
No, I hear it's a delicatessen over there.
Yeah,
the elite over there have their little boys by their arms, and it's disgusting. That's another thing.
Well, that's what Bush wants, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
But don't talk about it, you'll get arrested for being homophobic. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah, I'm homophobic if I'm against NAMBLA, right? Yeah, the National American Man-Boy Love Association.
That's basically what they say.
It's unbelievable. Have you seen Deliver Us from Evil yet? The documentary on Father O'Malley, where he basically goes through the whole thing and all these people that he has molested, and some of his victims are on camera, and at one point they go, what would you do different? He's like, I wouldn't do anything different. I'd do it all again. He's not in jail. He gets paid off by the Catholic Church every month. I mean, they literally have him outside of a playground full of kids where he says he's getting aroused on camera. Deliver Us from Evil, it's an eye-opener, folks. And then these cardinals all cover up.
That's what I mean. Everything's just out in the open.
Oh, yeah, it's in your face. And you mentioned Taxi to the Dark Side. This is the Academy Award-winning documentary this year. And when I ask people if they know about it or they heard about it or they've seen it, 99% of people just don't know. And it's because the mainstream media doesn't want us to know. They're not out to publicize what's really going on. They're out to commend it in private. Oh, good for you, you won. We're not going to air that on the Academy Awards, the best documentary film. But here's your award. Good job. But we're not going to promote it anywhere. We're not going to let the people know. It's not going to be on 2020.
And by the way, when we take over, you're going to be arrested.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take all your land, and your family's not going to be able to survive without you, so shut up. That's how a lot of people see that. They're the head of the household. They've got 2 cars. They've got a kid in college. They're paying for that. They don't feel like they have the time to do anything. But what I think is so great about your next 9/11 movie is that it shows people that do have the time to do something and want to do something.
Let's take one final call and talk about my film, and then a little bit about the film you're working on with me. But right now, final caller, Dave in California. You're on the air.
All right, I'm in overtime. Hi, guys.
Hey, buddy.
2 things. If we wanted to finish off the war on terror in one day, all we have to do is arrest all the high-level neo-commies like Dirty Dick Cheney. But what I called about was Steve Alton's book, to just let you know what was going on. I did what you said. I dogged him quite a bit in the Patriot Radio movement, made 8 appearances yesterday. I kind of felt like I was co-opting him a little bit. And I actually got a chance to talk to Mr. Alton, but he wouldn't do it on the program. He would do it off on the phone. And I hit him with, okay, so do you really believe in peak oil? Yes. Do you really believe in global warming? Absolutely. I can prove it, he says. Anyway, absolutely. I know there's global warming. And I said, and you honestly believe that 19 guys with box cutters took down the World Trade Center? Yes, absolutely. There's no conspiracy whatsoever. And this is supposed to be the poster boy for 9/11 truth? His book is full of all kinds of interesting facts that he got from Michael Rupert.
Well, look, let me be clear. I don't think he's a bad guy, and I'm not bashing him. And I got sent his book and read a few chapters, and it seemed interesting, and I had him on as a guest because they called a lot. But then I never heard such hype, and so I finally read the whole thing, and I was like, my God, I don't agree with a lot of this, and it's not that hardcore, and why is this our secret weapon? We just had Jesse Ventura go public, and none of the 9/11 sites want to talk about it. It's all shell game, shell game, shell game, shell game, shell game, shell game, shell game. Well, And so I didn't, I'm not saying you need to, when you called here, I said, I know all about it. That's why I'm not talking about it. I'm trying to be friendly, but I was like, you need to go talk about it on your own time. Yeah, so.
I mean, here's how I feel about it. I had, Steve on my little radio show as well. And, I'm not a peak oil promoter. I'm obviously not a global warming fearmonger, but at the same time, this is probably a guy that just read a couple books a few years ago, is not that heavily involved in the 9/11 truth movement or the Patriot movement.
I agree. It's just, is this our Gom Jabbar?
Oh, it shouldn't be.
That's just the creme de la creme?
Well, that's why I think that you made a great point about Jesse Ventura. As much as we'd love to get this book onto the bestseller list, or somebody would, it's at number 322. And I'm not saying don't go buy it. I'm not saying, don't tell your friends about it.
Ron Paul's book's at like 50.
Yeah.
Ventura's is at like 60.
And that's what I'm saying, is that Ventura's book, even without any press at all, is going to break into the top 10. I really feel that. And that's the real opportunity. The man has a non-fictional chapter about 9/11 truth. And then the one fictional chapter is about the powers that be assassinating him. I mean, could we ask for a better promotion?
And he's out saying we have a right to armed revolt. He came on this show and during the break said, Alex, I want to go all the way right now. He broke it here. I don't know why that keeps happening on my show.
Well, because you're the man, Alex, and you're able to get, these guys to come forward. I mean, if you look at the long list of...
Well, I did give him the videos a few years ago.
Yeah, American celebrities. And
I gave him Loose Change, second edition. Mm-hmm. I gave him Terror Storm. I gave him Road to Tyranny. What else did we give him? We gave him... martial law.
Well, I remember talking to you about him before you had him on and saying, he said some things on Jay Leno that were really interesting about NORAD. And then when you finally did get him, when he had the funky-looking beard and you were pressing him, you could tell that he had his questions, but he was really uncomfortable with how hardcore you were.
But then I talked to him. He said, I'm going back down to Mexico. I'm going to read and watch a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he comes back a year and a half later and goes, Alex, I read 16 books and watched the videos. They did it.
Yeah, and that's the power.
But no, we shouldn't talk about a governor. We shouldn't talk about a German defense minister or Italian president. Let's just run around. I mean, it's just bizarre.
And Jesse is really the quintessential guy for this movement, in my opinion. Not only is he an ex-Navy SEAL, not only is he an ex-governor, but he also pierces that American celebrity angle that everybody, glams onto. More people want to listen to Rosie O'Donnell than they do Stephen Jones.
Sure. Is David in in California gone?
I'm still here.
Anything else you want to add, sir?
Well, I'm all for Jesse Ventura. The guy's got presence, and you can't flap him. And he's just...
I know. Did you see him on Fox when they tried to shake him, and he just dominated those guys?
Forget about Fox. Did you listen to the Opie and Anthony one where for 30 minutes in studio, I went up against these guys and they were cursing at me, cutting my phone line, telling me they wanted to rape my mother and give me AIDS, all sorts of things. But when you got a 6'5" Navy SEAL in there, who's an ex-professional wrestler, they don't say those things to him.
But it's not just that. He was real calm about it.
Oh, yeah, and smart, very educated, going through, molten steel at the World Trade Center, going through, the laws of momentum, the pulverized concrete, Building 7, what was in it. I mean, he schooled these guys, and they had to be respectful towards him.
Well, I hear you, and I appreciate your call, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All I can say is I wish the listeners would hype me. I mean, I wish they'd take Endgame, where we prove that eugenicists run the world government and want to kill all of us, 90+% of us, in their own words and documents, and that they're carrying it out. I mean, is that important? Is that important, ladies and gentlemen? Is Road to Tyranny important? Is Martial Law important? Is Terror Storm? And those are all films that never got as big as Loose Change, second edition, or now the final cut that I've executive produced and we sell at Infowars.com. They got big, but it isn't about me getting big. You understand? Each time I get bigger, me, the personality, is much bigger than Loose Change. But I don't want it to be about Alex Jones, the personality. That's dangerous. And I'm not shying away from it. I just would rather that not be the case. I want it to be Endgame. I want people to get out and promote it. I'm trying to break this wide open and have a big guest on to do this. So I'm asking you, the listeners, I want a film I didn't make, but that I consulted on and I'm in, American Drug War. I want this film to be big, and it's not going to be big unless you get it on DVD and get it out to everybody you know, and it's available at Infowars.com right now. Bermas?
Well, personally, I'd like to see a resurgence in your film, American Dictators. We're about to have another sham election, and the way that you exposed the Kerry-Bush connections in that 90-minute film is excellent. I think that's also edited by Kevin Booth of American Drug War, right?
Yeah, me, Kevin, and Rob, yeah.
Yeah, so, that film right there where you expose the ties between Bush and Kerry.
False left-right deal, yeah.
The Diebold voting systems. You have Bev Harris in that picture. It's just an excellent beginner's course, if you will, to not only 9/11 truth that's sparse throughout, to not only the elite and them being related, but also to voter fraud. I mean, that covers a lot in 90 minutes, and it's a very watchable film. It's one you can sit everybody down and be like, wow, I didn't realize that John Kerry and Bush were so close. I didn't realize they went to college together, and they're both in Skull and Bones 2 years apart, and that John Kerry wasn't going anywhere until, Howard Dean said, yeah! I mean, it was just amazing.
And then they hyped that non-issue.
Yeah, that non-issue got played. I mean, I must have saw it, 30,000 times over the next 2 weeks on every single network. I mean, it made to the point where Chappelle was parodying on his comedy show, and all of a sudden, Howard Dean fell off, and he's no saint,
But what about people who run the system, who are in the system, the minions that help, keep the machinery running? I mean, do you like what's happening? I mean, is this good? I mean, is the torture of children good? And let me cover 2 articles now, then we'll talk about the film we're doing together. We'll talk about my new film that's coming out. 2 new 9/11 films the next 4 months you're going to see, and the JFK we're working on. But first, Phil in New York, first-time caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
What's up, buddy? What's going on? Nice to be on the phone with you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just woke up to you not maybe a few months ago. Everything you say is documented. It's 100%, 150% fact. And what you were talking about a little while ago about them flying them out of Afghanistan, it's in The Hunt for Bin Laden, Task Force Dagger. Robin Moore wrote the book. It's in the book by Special Forces, even said it. They documented it themselves.
Well, I mean, it was in the Times of London, Associated Press, but never in our main news. They flew 6,000 Taliban al-Qaeda out to safety.
Nothing's in our mainstream news. Our mainstream news is the biggest joke in the world. Well, look what they did to Ron Paul. I mean, right in plain view. All the military, he's got the most support from them, and that's what they do to them. They even ask him the stupidest... What a joke.
Ask him questions like, what does the military hate you, boy?
And then you're going to take standing orders from Al-Qaeda? I mean, it's the biggest joke. You guys keep up the fight. Thank you for taking my call. You guys are the best.
Meanwhile, Ron Paul gets the most military funding out of any candidate, and it's just swept under the rug. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Jason, I'm going to have, while you're down here for the next month or so, to have you in all the time.
Well, thank you, Alex. I appreciate that.
You want to sit in for me next week?
If you want me to, I'll sit in. Yeah, that's fine.
You just can't engage in treacherous or traitorous activities.
Okay. I don't know what those are, but I'll try not to.
Certain other parties have. That's why they're now enemies of the Republic. All right. No, I know you're a good guy. I'm just teasing you.
I know, Alex.
We got more calls just pouring in here. We could just sit here all day, not even giving the phone number out, getting calls from the great folks out there. But I start getting a little bit dingy after 4 or 5 hours. And also I have incredible neck pain today. I was feeling real good about 2 hours in the show. Stretched and went, ah! So now it feels like someone's ice picking me in the back, but I'll continue. But it's either, when you start trying to get back in shape, these kind of things happen. It's either that or I can turn into this guy.
Where is it?
Where is the picture?
There it is right there.
You know what? I just realized I can actually play this.
Yeah, you probably could play this because now we have the video feed. It's got a nice little song with it, too. Actually, the audio is legitimate, and the video is absolutely ridiculous.
Let me take a break because I'm real tired. Mm-hmm. Then we'll cover 3 or 4 news articles, talk about the films, take a few calls, and end this at the bottom of the hour. But let me go to YouTube. YouTube.com and hit enter. There we go. And I type into here this really funny piece. It's called Alex Jones Special Announcement. Alex Jones Special. Okay. People, don't say I can't make fun of myself. Okay.
There it is right there at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
It's right there at the top. You got it right there.
I know, but there's a bunch of versions of it. I don't want to play the wrong one.
No, I think that's the one I saw today.
How do I turn computer up? Here we go. How do I get audio in here? Laptop. I just know where we're going. I know the dark tunnel we're going down. Hold on. And I know we're going to beat them in the end.
Oh, man. This is great. I think this is going to be your biggest video yet.
You laugh and you think it's funny when I tell you, but deep down right now you're...
Now, see, this laptop, when I open it, it does that. All right, I'll have to stop it. All right, I shouldn't joke. See, it's saying serious things, but for those who don't know, something's wrong with my computer, because when I try to open it to full screen here, it messes it up. So we're not going to be able to do that. The point is that it's got my head on like some gangbanger. It's got Thug Life on his belly, and it is funny.
It looks like a wannabe gangbanger too. It's like it's the best. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
I can't help it, man. It's funny.
No, it is funny stuff, man. But
that's the sick part about it, is I laugh at people that attack me, but then I also later get upset about it, because not about this, but because I realize, no, wait a minute, I'm like an image for people out there, and I need to try to maintain that and not even laugh at myself, because this is serious material. You know, I am talking about cancer viruses and the vaccines. I talk about it all the time because it's been proven over and over again, not just SG40. They're doing it by design, and I want to warn people.
Yeah. Well, if we don't warn people, we're all in for the same tyranny, and that's why I don't know why people who know this information aren't out there, aren't talking to everybody. I mean, I rock a Investigate 9/11 shirt 2-3 times a week. You know, I'm not afraid to talk to anybody. You know, I was over at my lady friend's house for Easter, and I'm talking about the Prescott-Bush Nazi connection with Union Banking and Averell Harriman Corporation, and trying to explain, because one of the in-laws was from Germany, you know, how our current president, you know, is still in a death cult, worships Hitler, worships Satan, you know, has male prostitutes in the White House parading as actual conservative bloggers, such as James Gannon. And I'm just getting these looks like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, all I have to do is do a little Google search here, and you'll see him kissing his head. You know, I mean, how many grown men allow their bald head to be kissed by the president? And why would the president want to kiss another man's head in the first place? You know, then you see him cheek to cheek. I mean, it's very disturbing stuff. It's not that I want to believe this stuff. It's that it's out there, and it's not, you cannot ignore it if you are awake. You can't ignore it, Alex. But you can try to laugh about it. I mean, we can sit here and laugh, but it's for real that you broke into the Bohemian Grove back in 2000 and watched an occultic ceremony held by thousands of the world's elite. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, that's the sick reality. And for all those people out there that think that, you know, Satanism is this big goof. That's what I thought. I thought it was, you know, the kids in high school with the black makeup that couldn't have a girlfriend, that didn't want to talk to anybody. I thought that's how far it went. It ain't like that. You know, the reality of the situation is it's the person at the podium telling you what to do and how to live your life, and they're into it. It's like that movie Dragnet, Alex. Remember Dragnet? It was a big joke, the pagans, the Pagans, and who's leading them?
The local preacher.
Yeah, the local preacher has the goat's head on. And as a kid, I loved that movie, and I didn't know why. You know, I just thought it was a funny movie with Tom Hanks.
That's how it really works.
And that's how it works. And I watch your ceremony on Google. I'm like, and I immediately remember that movie, and I'm thinking to myself, wow. And they're just throwing it in our face in Hollywood, making jokes about it. Well, it's not funny. It's beyond not funny, and, you know, that's why I think Order of Death, that's another great movie that people need to see that you've done. I mean, Order of Death, it shows not only the elitists, but those who think that they're fighting the elitists by getting into these robes and practicing white magic and the right-hand side. And, look, the occult is the occult to me. You know, if you're practicing occultic magic, you're an occultist, and I mean, more than likely, you're probably presenting yourself as a Christian, as most of these people do. You know, they present themselves as these Christian conservatives, and then on the flip side, they're occultists that are into, you know, homosexuality most of the time. You know, or even worse.
That's what makes it fun for them, is that they then run around bashing it. Let me cover a couple articles here, Bermas. Get your take on them. We'll take a few final calls, and that's it for today. FBI email says Bush signed executive order authorizing torture. President George W. Bush comment on ABC News that he approved discussions that his top aides held about harsh interrogation techniques, adds credence to claims from senior FBI agents in 2004 in Iraq that Bush had signed an executive order approving for the military dogs, sleep deprivation, and other tactics to intimidate Iraqi detainees. We'll see, police, military, if somebody tells you torture a child, you don't, even if they're the president, that's illegal. That's evil. You see, you have to follow your own compass. When the American Civil Liberties Union released the FBI email in December of 2004 after obtaining it through the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit, the White House emphatically denied that any such presidential executive order existed, calling the unnamed FBI official who wrote the email mistaken. President Bush and his representatives have also denied repeatedly that the administration condones torture, although senior administration officials have acknowledged subjecting high-value terror suspects to aggressive interrogation techniques, including the waterboarding or simulated drowning of 3 al-Qaeda detainees. But the emerging public evidence suggests that Bush denials about torture, about the semantic argument with the administration applying to narrow definition that contradicts widely accepted standards contained in international law, including the Geneva Convention and other human rights conventions. The FBI email dated May 22, 2004 followed disclosures about abuse of Iraqi detainees at Abu Ghraib prison and sought guidance from whether FBI agents in Iraq were obligated to report U.S. military harsh interrogation, it's torture, folks, of inmates when the treatment had violated FBI standards but fit within the guidelines of the presidential executive order. According to the email, Bush's executive order authorized interrogation to use military dogs, stress positions, sleep management, loud music, sensory deprivation through the use of hoods, etc., to extract information from detainees in Iraq. The Army's own report says 97% of those picked up at the checkpoints just didn't have their IDs in order.
Yeah.
So,
it's scary, Alex.
And General Tagumbu's, the Army, U.S. Army's own report says raping people and sodomizing them with large objects dripping with battery acid. Jeffrey Dahmer did that.
Yeah, it's very quaint. I actually got to interview and meet the Abu Ghraib whistleblower. He's, mid-20s guy. He was at the whistleblowers hearing with Anthony Schaefer of Able Danger. And, he just exposed how disgusting and vile they were and how they would, faction out to CACI forces or khaki forces for some of the torture. But everybody knew what was going on. They were there, and it was interrogation techniques, Alex. It wasn't torture. It was techniques to get information. And he sat there and said, we never got any real information from these guys. We never got anything that was worthwhile. We never got anything that helped us fight the war on terror. He's like, why are we doing this? And, he faced a ton of opposition to come out. And then when he did, it wasn't like he was on the nightly news. It was kind of in passing. No one really knows his name or, what he said unless they read it in the Washington Post or the New York Times. And those are only excerpts, folks. They're only excerpts. They're not the reality of the situation. The reality is what Alex just told you, where they are literally raping people with battery acid. I mean, think about that.
And it's because they like it.
Yeah,
They hired jail guards that were in trouble for that already. Anyways, it's now come out that it is the memo, and new memos that have come out mention the president's order. Mm-hmm. So they sent people to prison that followed orders. That's what's even more incredible about this, is that they then send their own people to prison who followed orders.
Well, it's all about serving up those that you can, and just denying and denying and denying. I mean, he had Alberto Gonzales denying for him forever.
And now Gonzales can't get a job, and that's what people should know. They're trying to sell everybody on this evil, and it's bigger than Bush, but he's the front. Remember that. You will be destroyed being part of this evil. You're not going to win. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this report. Cell phone cover-up, is your brain at risk? CNN News. CCN News. Now, again, I read these articles every day. I don't even cover them on air. I've kind of gotten conditioned not to, but you need to know, and I'm still habitualized. Habitualized means it's a habit to use a cell phone when I'm in the car for 30 minutes home, 30 minutes to work, sometimes an hour in traffic. I get a lot done on it. But the point is, you better have a hands-free. You better keep it at least 3 feet away from you. You better be careful, folks, and I know we all forget and still do it. It's frying your brain. I've cut back like 95%.
Yeah, I put mine on speaker all the time, and I don't even mind that other people have to hear my conversations. I don't want that thing next to my ear. Every time it rings, if I have a speaker or my television on, you can literally hear the microwaves. You hear that, and then all of a sudden your phone rings, No,
I mean, it takes high-powered stuff to disrupt
Yeah,
things.
That's a real signal that could cause cancer in your body.
Here it is. Cell phone cover-up. Is your brain at risk? The latest stone thrown to the $200 million a year cell phone industry came from a study by neurosurgeon Vin G. Krushuna, who are getting on the show, entitled Mobile Phone Brain Tumor, Public Health Advisory. His meta-analysis of existing cell phone studies may not contain a lot of new information, but his rather alarming message was carried by media around the world. There is a growing body of statistical significant evidence for a relationship between the overall length and use of cell phone and the delayed on occurrence of brain tumor on the same side of the head as the preferred side for mobile phone usage. He claimed a 2 to 4-fold, and I've got hundreds of studies saying this, increased risk following 10 years of regular use. The cell phone industry mobilized its behemoth defense machine, calling the study a select view of existing literature. This meant that his conclusions were not in line with all the studies the industry had been funding around the world, called Interphone, and it just goes on and on, David versus Goliath. But they've got cell phone company studies. They've got government studies. They all say the same thing. they even admit, the cell phone companies admit that it heats the brain more than 1.5 degrees after 20 minutes. It's heating the brain.
Very scary. I mean, again, it's out there. People should really realize that if you have a mobile device of any sort, it's sending, a microwave. It's sending out a signal, and that signal's probably not the best for you and me. We're not adapted for that sort of thing. We know that there are other technologies out there that have caused cancer in the past, and they've denied it, and then 40 years later, oh yeah, it's bad for you. It's kind of like lead paint or asbestos.
Well, it's kind of like eating 100 Twinkies a day will do this to you.
What, make you dance ridiculously with Thug Life? It's bad news, Alex, but people are so addicted to technology. I mean, again, it's only going to get worse. I really do believe that. I mean, we'll just accept anything. I mean, we really will. I mean, what's the next thing on the cell phone? Your cell phone already does just about everything. It's a video player. It's an MP3 player. It's a calculator. It's an alarm clock. It's this all-in-wonder machine. We're never going to get weaned off that. We're only going to get weaned towards the next step. God knows what the next one's going to do because...
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. They phase it in.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I remember when car phones were the big thing. Oh, my God, he's got a car phone. It's the mid-'90s. I can't believe it. And then cell phones came out, but they were the size of a walkie-talkie, and you kind of thought to yourself, oh, that's never really going to get big. But now, literally 12-year-old kids, 12-year-old and under kids, everybody's got a cell phone. Every single person. And you should be warning your children,
well, that's
especially.
Why I every week try to warn people. I really want to help people. I have this instinct to not want to hurt others. And
you're going to be real sad when your kid's 25, 26 years old and they've got a tumor in their brain.
Well, they'll just rationalize it.
Well, I really hope not. I hope you realize that was
What about
because
this? The government is trying to wrap its mind around yours. Imagine a world of streets lined with video cameras that alert authorities to suspicious activity, a world where police officers can read the minds of potential criminals and arrest them before they commit any crimes, a world in which a suspect who lies under questioning gets nabbed immediately because his brain has given him away. And then it goes on to say Advanced Research Defense Project, Department of Defense, airports already have these in them. The point is, it doesn't work. It doesn't really tell you that. They just say it. It's an excuse, just like they use lie detectors to send all these innocent people that DNA shows are now innocent.
Yeah, and they've conditioned us through Hollywood to believe that that's possible. I mean, you look at Minority Report, and even though they were using, like, these 3 supposed psychics, you were literally in this technological society where everywhere you went, your iris was scanned.
That's ads. Already here. It's already face scanning.
Yeah.
Just what you see in Minority Report is how it already is off your face and off the tags on your car.
Yeah, well, if you go to the Discovery Channel on late night, they have all those shows down in London where they show you all the CCTV cameras and they show you the face scanning and the mapping out, and this is the criminal and these are the matches that aren't the criminal, but this is the one. There's a 95% chance, and we're just going to go arrest him now. No judge, no trial, no jury, just your award to the state, and it's very, very scary. It's frightening. I mean, I can't imagine, walking down the street and then all of a sudden getting nabbed because my mood wasn't right, or maybe a thought passed through my head.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a few final calls and end this transmission. But before we do that, I would like to briefly get into the film I'm making. We got 2 working titles. It'll be out in about a month and a half, 2 months. It's a totally different film from the past styles people have seen from me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The others have tons of voiceover, tons of documents, and it's kind of a different style. It's almost like a film book.
Mm-hmm.
This is cinema verite. There's no voiceover, and it's the 9/11 Truth Movement from Mark Dice to We Are Change and Luke Radowski to the Loose Change guys, me getting arrested, but it's action-packed. It brings up all the key issues, and it's got first responders, Richard Gage. I mean, you've had a chance to sit here and watch it the last few days while you've been here, Jason. What'd you think of it?
I think it's amazing because it is so different from any other film out there. It's kind of like you don't focus so much on the evidence as much as you're focusing on the movement and who's involved in this movement and how there are New Yorkers, family members that are very concerned. There is a movement called We Are Change where people are getting confronted left and right. And not only do you have big political names being confronted, but you have that celebrity aspect where that's going to bring more people in, where, I don't want to give away too much, but some of the people in this film are, Michael Moore makes an appearance, Rosie O'Donnell's there, George Carlin, people that we've grown up with, I guess, Alex, that are part of, a lot of the folks out there's everyday lives. I remember when the Rosie O'Donnell show was big. I think that's why it's important she came out. She had a huge audience of soccer moms out there. So this one, I think, is really going to be able to break that paradigm where it's not going to be your usual audience. This one's going to be able to reach the grandmas.
Well, that's what it's meant to do.
Yeah.
Is it's meant to show people the power of activism, the excitement, and kind of be like a battle hymn. And I do hope people will spread this, get this out to people, hype this. This is really important. I know shell game's important and all, but
this is really important, and I've seen it, and it's very funny too. That's another point of this one that I think is you can take a step back and be like, wow, that was pretty humorous. Mark Dice has a few moments where he's in a library. You might have seen it on YouTube, and he's sitting there in this packed school, and he's like, oh my God, I just figured out 9/11 was an inside job, and you just see everybody stare at him, and you can get a chuckle out of it, and you can show this might be the lighthearted movie to show to other people. There are people like me everywhere.
Well, by lighthearted, I mean, it's got a lot of evidence, a lot of info, and then blowing up Building 7, the firefighters seeing it back, and firefighters talking about it. But it really is a different film, and then it ends in D.C. with Congressman Kucinich and a couple other congresswomen exposing that they've now blocked giving them health care, and they're not giving them health care. And John Hopkins and Cedars-Sinai and all of them say that they have this in their lungs and they're dying, and it shows people dying, and it shows people having to give their kids away because they can't pay for them, going bankrupt and totally homeless. I mean, it really shows what's happening. It's a totally different 9/11 film from anything you've seen. And then, that's right, I don't want to give away your film, but people need to know that I am producing it with you in association with Loose Change, but you and I together in association with Loose Change, and that it's going to be really something different, too. Here at the end, and by the end of the Bush administration, and scores of films made, we're making 2 very special films, and your film you've been working on for about a year, part-time. We're going to finish it up in the next month and a half. It's going to be out in, August 1st?
That's what we're shooting for.
And mine should be out no later than July 1st. And so 2 new films, but this is 9/11 Chronicles Part 1, Truth Rising. We may call it 9/11 Chronicles, Truth Revolution, Part 1, Truth Revolution. I'm not sure because I'm going to do probably Part 2, wrapping up years from now what happened in the movement. Did we bring them to justice? Did they stage more attacks? But that's if we win. If not, I'll just be dead in our FEMA camp or, in prison for some trumped-up charge. That's so you're down here for the next month plus, and you'll probably be in the next few weeks sitting in a couple days doing the show. Let the big man, Jason Bermas, get in here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited because this is a 9/11 film that I'm working on that really people have not seen in any other 9/11 films. What I tried to do with this movie was every time I'm asked a question that why isn't this in the picture, and we haven't covered it in Loose Change 2nd Edition or Loose Change Final Cut, or it's not covered in Martial Law Road to Tyranny, I thought to myself, well, that is valid. I do need to bring that up. And this one really is going to stay away from the controlled demolition aspect to try to bring even more people in. Me and World Trade Center 1 and 2 were absolutely blown up, using demolition charges. We know that World Trade Center 7 went down in 7.5 seconds. In its own footprint. That to me has been done almost to death. But what a lot of people don't know is who are the whistleblowers. That tons of whistleblowers have come out.
The FBI agents, the people in government, the embassy heads, and then not just that, but more on the airlift of evil. More who are the hijackers.
Exactly.
More, all these troops being massed around Afghanistan at the time, right before it happened. How the FBI was paying for their houses, cars, credit cards. That's all the stuff. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's very, very powerful as well.
Yeah, and we're going to focus also on who was detained.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah, we're focusing in on who was detained, and we're also going to get into the shadow government like nobody else has. A lot of people still scoff at the idea of the shadow government. They don't understand what continuity of government is. They don't understand that it was put into play publicly on 9/11 and what the repercussions are. They don't know that, Bush was cracking jokes about Dick Cheney running the country at prime rib dinners in 2002.
By the way, I have a video somewhere that was brought to me. I even forget by who. It's somewhere. It was going to be like in 2001 by somebody with Neil Bush in Austin at a Republican dinner, talking about his brother comes out of the bunker in his underwear. And he's making jokes about everything and about the attacks. I think the Ritters gave me that. And I bet how his brother came out of the bunker in his underwear. And I have the video and then never even aired it. That's what I mean. There's so much stuff we get that I can't even keep track of all. People think of me as like some huge sterling building and hundreds of employees. I mean, I'm putting the light bulbs in around here half the time, and going out and getting people dinner or whatever. This is a small operation. And that's why, folks, your purchases of the books and videos are so important. Things like American Drug War that's available at Infowars.com. Please get it. Please get it out to everybody you know. Films like Endgame or Loose Change, Final Cut. They're all available in hard copy at Infowars.com. Or see my films and so much more and this Overdrive hour we do, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 2.5 hours extra we do at PrisonPlanet.tv. We're going to take 3 final calls. Dustin in Ohio, and then I got to wrap this up. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey, Alex. This is Dustin again. I called the other day.
Welcome.
And I'm going to continue to call until you let me help you in some way other than, however I can help. I am going to force you to help me. So anyway.
Well, I can't help myself and don't even get to talk to my family most of the time, so I don't know how that's going to go.
Well, I ran a satellite office for different, I was account manager for different construction companies. My point is I ran satellite offices out of my house, so I'm completely equipped with everything. I'll leave your guys as my number.
Equipped to do what, though? Here's the thing. I do a radio show. I make some films. I do a lot of radio interviews. People are always wanting to help, and I appreciate that, and I feel bad when I say, well, I don't have any help I need, because there isn't an operation. There isn't anything that, it's basically me.
Right, that's the problem, because you only have 2 hands. You're only one person. Delegate, spread it out. And it'll
listen, I hear you. I got to jump, my friend. I got to go here. One last call because my neck's killing me. Sean in Oregon, you're on the air.
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Doing a worldwide transmission right here on the Possum Belly Network.
Hey, I just wanted to let you know. Last night I went to a biometrics lecture, and this guy named Mark Lerner, he was talking real bad about you, man, saying that you didn't know that that you thought it was just a national ID card, not a world database and stuff like this, and he just was talking real bad about you, man, and I wanted to let you know.
Well, I mean, was he somebody pushing it, or?
Oh, he said he supposedly worked for, he was actually against RFID and the facial scan and the eye, the iris and all that, but he was still on the lines of the 19 hijackers did 9/11, and we got to keep the Arabs out of the country and the whole 9 yards, and I was just, I totally was sitting there like, it was total nonsense.
Where are you?
Portland, Oregon, my friend.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I don't care if somebody attacks me. I think it's funny. I just remember reading in the BBC and in the Australian papers in 2000 where they had an Australian UN meeting where they had world standardization, just like they have standardization for airplanes and area codes, and they said that they had a world ID standardization. And I mean, if you notice, well, let me just say, if you notice when you go to England, it's the same name programs, the same thumb scanning, and then when they come here, they've got to do it. And Interpol's tied in with our CIA. So
this exact thing is exactly what he said you do not talk about. That's why I was just letting you know. I was like, man, that's total nonsense.
What do you mean he said you do not talk about it?
He was basically trying to say that the only reason you care about a national ID card is because it's going to cost the American people supposedly a lot of money, and it's only a national ID card. And I knew I'm a long-time listener, and I knew that you.
So even people that claim they're fighting Big Brother are for the national ID card?
Yes.
But wait a minute, I thought we weren't going to have a national ID card all those years, and I made it up. Bill Clinton signed an executive order in '93 telling the states they had to have a national ID card standardized in the next 2 years, and then almost every state had implemented it with the strip and the barcode and the thumbprint and the face scan, which is a digital photo. And now they admit we have a national ID card, but I'm still the kook, and I'm telling you it's already world standardized.
Oh, I had your back the whole time, Alex. I knew. I mean, I was there with some 9/11 truthers, and we knew what was up, man. It was just I thought I was going to get something more out of it than what I got, and everything he already told me. Surprisingly, I already heard from you, which he was saying that you don't talk about these things. That's why I wanted to let you know that.
Well, listen, I appreciate your call. I don't know who this person is. Mark Lerner. Look. Here's the deal. We're a very competitive society, and as things get worse and worse in the economy, people get more and more competitive. The money that I have in the bank is so if I get sued, I can fight it, and so I can have a little bit of money for my family to be comfortable. But the money isn't the object. The money isn't the end of the day reason I do all this. I'm thinking about being arrested, being killed. I'm thinking about how do we beat these people? God, they're dangerous. You know, I'm always amazed at how wicked they are. And I'm here trying to tell the truth, trying to cover the news, trying to maintain objectivity, cover serious issues, prove everything I talk about. And I've proven that I'm right about all this, as hardcore as it is. And then most other people in the Patriot movement hate my guts. They think I'm like this rock star. They get sick of hearing my name. I mean, half of the movement, half of the discussion is about me, basically.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because it doesn't need to be. And so all these events, I remember having the lady who supposedly discovered RFID. I remember having Tex Mars on in 1996 on my Access show and on the radio. He wrote a book in 1993 called Project Lucent, which is everything that's happened today. When I read it in 96, I couldn't believe it. And now that's the stuff that's cutting edge now because he was an Air Force officer. He was a space and aeronautics professor. And then he had these contacts. Mm-hmm. And so we sell the book, Project Lucent. It's almost out of print. We have it, at Infowars.com if you want to go get it. And I'd go on there and I'd have the supposed, first person talk about RFID, which is fine. I'm glad that they're out there making that their one big issue, this nice lady. And I'd say, they're already planning to scan you off the transponders in your car and track you. And they're already planning to make old people take microchips. And she'd laugh at me and, say, oh, you're going a little far. And, and now they're talking like that, which is fine. But it's hard to be a trailblazer. And I just told you who came out with it. It's Tex Mars. And why should I care? I wish she came out with it first, and she hasn't attacked me. I'm just using that as an example. She would just kind of poo-poo and laugh at me to my face. Yeah. But no, Tex Mars. I'd read a book. I'd had the professor on. He wrote best-selling books on robotics 30 years ago. He wrote the military exams. That's where Tex got all his money, by the way. Oh. Almost ruined his life fighting all this other stuff. Yeah, he wrote, the military exams and things like that. He's really smart. And so, that's it isn't about who discovered it first, though. It's about it's happening. But this whole movement spends half its time freaking out and getting upset. And I've had a lot of people who have invited in to do the show, invited in and been nice to, who just stabbed me in the back in ways you couldn't believe. To the point you start getting paranoid, you get screwed so much. And I know in a society of scum and trash and fake people and lies that people get to where don't trust anything, and that's another danger. Test but verify, trust but verify. Look at the fruits I've produced. Look at everything I've done. Look at I'm exhausted with a horrible neck ache today, and I'm in here doing extra time because I want to warn people. I want to tell people not to drink fluoride. I want to tell them don't take vaccines. I want to tell them don't use cell phones up against your head. I want to help people because I'm a good person, because my instincts are correct. I want to help my fellow tribe, and I see my fellow people on the planet as my tribe. And so, that said, I almost don't even want to hear about somebody who's attacking me, because this is about their meeting and about them being a leader and about them warning you and about you liking them. And so fine, let it be about them. Don't bring me up. Don't torture them. If their ego helps save this country because they want to be a big shot, but they also don't like tyranny, good. I've only tried to be a venue for everybody and build everybody up. Now, I've gotten to where people backstab me all the time, so I don't associate with many people. And I'm very watchful now. But other than that, it doesn't matter. Folks, I'm in danger of nuts shooting me. I get death threats all the time. I'm in danger of being arrested, trumped up charges. I'm thinking about how to be my best in my life, not knowing how long I have. I'm trying to put out the most work I can. This isn't about being a big shot, making some money off some videos. This is about survival. This is about saving the country, stopping psychopathic technocrat idiots who are murdering us. And in closing, you want to say anything, Bermas? I didn't even know the camera was on you just now.
I just want to say that, you're dead on. If they had spent half the time that they did attacking you, warning other people, or perhaps emailing important films like yours out to people, we'd be a lot farther in this movement.
But not just attacking me, they all attack each other.
That's also true.
They can't even put on a hotel event or some event because they're too busy fighting with each other over who gets to go up and speak.
Yeah.
Over who gets to go jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
Who gets to go stick their head in a lion's mouth.
I really don't appreciate that when I see that. I go to a lot of these events, and, it's always like time. Who's going to be emceeing? Who's going to be able to promote their stuff?
Here's an example in Chicago. They invite you guys out. They say they're going to pay for your tickets. Last minute, they don't. I never even got paid for that. It's just incredible. I mean, they admitted I brought half the people.
Well,
there.
you remember we were waiting to show our presentation, and they had that like vaudeville,
Men in drag.
off-the-chain, men in drag like stage show.
But I mean, let me go back here.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a part of this is why they were losers. No one's going to it. That they haven't sold more than 100 tickets. They call me and finally invite me. And I go, I don't really want to go because I don't want to be around a bunch of people that are like on a power trip. Not the members that are, coming to see it, but the leadership. It's always the same. And I'm like, I guess I'll go. Okay, you got to pay for my ticket. I didn't, and I said, and I and then they admitted that I sold the place out. Like 600 came from me, 200 from them, and everybody told them that. And then I was told, don't say this, don't say that. You can't talk that long. You can't videotape yourself. And I said, well, I had this all agreement. I have a contract. I was smart enough because I'd gone through this before. Yeah. I had them write it all down.
Where they want to own your material all of a sudden. It's unbelievable.
I'm from Texas, where I'm an old Texan, not the fake George Bush, Kenny Bunkport, Maine Texan. I mean, because the reason people were polite 100 years ago here is people kill you if you weren't polite. Or if you cheated somebody, they come kill you. So that's how the Texas sensibility and not screwing people got developed, and then in Texas hospitality and all that. And I guess I'm the tail end of all that. But then I go up there. I make them all this money, get nothing out of it. Remember when I went to New York last year, gave all the money to first responders. Sure. You didn't even brag about that. But then I show up, and then they had you guys playing at 5, then 8, then 9, then 10. And I said, they're not going to put you on. It's a dish. And they laughed. They came in the bar, restaurant, we're eating, drinking beers, and they laughed. They went, sorry, you're not on now. And they laughed, and you guys kind of got mad, and I said, no, that's because they're jealous of your film, guys. They think you're like superstars, and, they don't know what you've gone through, the hate, the death threats. Remember at the bar?
Oh, yeah.
And I explained it, and then they went, and it was men with beards dressed like women dancing, and they were laughing, and it was a victory. They think by hurting you, that makes them you, but they'll never be you because they're cowardly scum.
Well, I just can't spend my time on that negativity, man.
But let's just get negative now.
I just can't, but I mean, even when that happened, I remember sitting there being like, well, if we're not going to go on, just tell us. I'll go to the bar right now, and we'll have drinks. And me and you and a couple other people were sitting out in the hallway just waiting for this thing to end. Be straight up with me. If I'm not going to be on, that's okay. I'm not going to go cry big boy tears on my pillow.
But they just kicked you out because they wanted to have people dressed as...
Yeah, and if you look back on that event, although it was a really, groundbreaking event, one of the first ones, had a lot of good people, some of the people that were headliners are the same people that come out for socialism later, or space beams, and no planes. I mean, if you think about that venue, there's like 3 or 4 people that just ended up off the deep end on this movement that we can't associate with anymore because of the vile they produce.
They've been putting out fake videos and things, or they show pieces of the plane flying to the other side and say it's the nose cone, and then place it in a nose cone.
Yeah, I've seen all those videos, and they're just ridiculous. I mean, if you want somebody to address these no-planers, I'll address you guys.
But I mean, here's the deal. I go and I talk to these guys, and I'll go, hey, I really know people that did see the first plane. They just start laughing and say, no, you didn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they just say, no, you didn't. You're an agent. And there's not evidence of that. I mean, there is at the Pentagon. And it's like we're agents, and they call us names and call for all this. See, that's another thing is how they act. Is they act so crazy and so accusatory. And I'm a nice guy. When somebody's accusatory or bossy to me now, they're out of my life, man.
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, I can't deal with those people either. I'm a smile and a handshake guy, and I'm like, if you want to believe that, you can believe it. But if you did your research, you know that I'm just an average dude. I'm not out here to try to make a big name for myself. I'm out here to try to warn people just like you and try to educate them, because if I'm not free and you're not free, none of us are free.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
Listen, we're out of time. No more calls. We're going to go ahead and no, we're not going to close with the YouTube video. I think we've had enough of what, you can play it from in there? Okay. Now, listen, we're out of time. I'm totally exhausted. I'll be fine in 10 minutes after I get off air, but I kind of get tired, especially in this last hour and 51 minutes, nonstop. Listen, next Monday, the show, the 4th hour, will be on Genesis. But we're going to keep the tradition going of this being a little more wacky, a little more off the cuff, a little more relaxed, kind of like the lounge setting with that 4th hour. And so know that I'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., some days until 11 a.m. to 3:51 p.m. And just please keep spreading the word about the show, what we do. Support us. We need your support. And I appreciate all of you out there. I can't take any more calls. I'm just exhausted. And there goes Jason Bermas, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll say sayonara. Thanks to the great crew out there. Big guest coming up tomorrow. Huge guest coming up next week. We really try to improve the show for you all the time. Thanks to all the PrisonPlanet.tv members. You make it possible. If you're watching us on or listening to us audio at Infowars.com, you ought to know you can get video of the show, what we're doing in here, if you're a PrisonPlanet.tv member. So check that out at PrisonPlanet.tv. All right, sayonara. We'll see you back tomorrow. We now will go back live into our regularly scheduled transmission of, well, me. God bless.
LE.com or call us today at 866-779-8455.